What you're about to hear has baffled scientists, terrified locals, and fueled wild speculation for years. Imagine falling into a sleep so deep that you don't wake up for 6 days. For an entire village on the vast, windswept plains of Kazakhstan, this wasn't a nightmare, it was a horrifying reality. A village where people suddenly collapse, unconscious for days at a time. Glowing orbs of light that dance and streak across the night sky, seen by thousands. And in the remote mountains, a massive stone gateway that seems to lead nowhere. These are the bizarre, unexplained mysteries of Kazakhstan. But are they elaborate hoaxes, just the stuff of folklore and internet chatter? Or are they horrifying truths with explanations more unsettling than any fiction? Let's break down the evidence, listen to the witnesses, and try to separate fact from fiction. Our first mystery takes us to a small, unassuming village called Kalachi in northern Kazakhstan. For generations, life here was simple and quiet. About 800 people, mostly ethnic Russians and Germans, lived out their lives against the backdrop of the immense Kazakh steppe. But in March of 2013, that quiet life was shattered by something inexplicable and deeply frightening. It started without any warning. A person would be going about their day, walking down the street, working in their garden, even riding a bike, and they would suddenly, inexplicably, fall asleep. This wasn't a normal nap. It was a sudden plunge into unconsciousness, a state so deep that it was impossible to wake them. They could stay like that for 2, 3, sometimes up to 6 days straight. When they finally woke up, the horror wasn't over. They were left with a crushing list of symptoms: severe dizziness, agonizing headaches, nausea, weakness, and maybe most terrifying of all, major memory loss. They couldn't remember what happened or how they'd lost days of their lives. As one local nurse told a news crew, "You wake them up, they can speak to you, but as soon as you stop talking, they just want to sleep, sleep, sleep." For many, the moments before and after were filled with vivid, terrifying hallucinations. Kids reported seeing winged horses in the sky, snakes crawling in their beds, and worms eating their hands. One man described the feeling of a snail slowly walking over his face. Others acted drunk, their movements clumsy and their speech slurred. The phenomenon didn't discriminate. It hit the old and the young. Children would suddenly fall asleep in the middle of class. Adults would collapse at their jobs. In total, more than 140 people, nearly a quarter of the village's population, fell victim to this mysterious sleeping sickness. Some people had attacks more than half a dozen times, each episode leaving them weaker and more confused. It was a silent, invisible plague that even seemed to affect animals. One resident said her cat, Marquise, suddenly went stupid, meowing and attacking the walls before falling into a deep sleep and snoring like a person for over a day. Doctors were completely baffled. Their initial diagnosis was encephalopathy of an unknown origin, a fancy way of saying they had no clue what was causing the brain affliction. The Kazakh government launched a massive investigation, bringing in experts from health, energy, and national security. They ruled out the obvious stuff first. Tests for viruses and bacteria came back negative. It wasn't contagious, it didn't spread from person to person. They tested everything: the soil, the water, the air, the food. Still, no clear answer emerged. With no scientific explanation, theories ran wild. Was it counterfeit vodka? That was an early idea, but it was quickly dismissed. Some suggested it was mass psychosis, but a psychological condition couldn't explain the profound physical symptoms or why the village cat was zonked out. The villagers had their own, more sinister suspicion. Their eyes turned to the ghost town of Krasnogorsk, a stone's throw from Kalachi. During the Soviet era, Krasnogorsk was home to a massive uranium mine. After the Soviet Union fell, the mine was abandoned. The locals were convinced that radiation was leaking from the old mine, poisoning them in their sleep. It made a certain kind of sense. Investigators swept through the village with Geiger counters. They found that some homes did have slightly elevated levels of radium, but nowhere near enough to explain something this bizarre. Besides, radiation experts pointed out that the symptoms just didn't match. Radiation poisoning is horrific, but it doesn't typically make you fall asleep for 6 days. Another theory pointed to radon gas, a colorless, odorless radioactive gas that can seep from uranium deposits. Maybe, some thought, it was acting like an anesthetic. Still, every plausible explanation led to a dead end. For nearly 2 years, the people of Kalachi lived in constant fear, never knowing who would be next to fall. Finally, in July of 2015, the government announced they had solved it. The cause wasn't a curse, a virus, or even radiation directly. It was something far more mundane, yet just as deadly: carbon monoxide. Over the decades, the abandoned uranium mine had flooded with groundwater. This water reacted with materials in the mine shafts, causing a huge spike in carbon monoxide underground. The final piece of the puzzle was the weather. The sickness always got worse when atmospheric pressure dropped. That change in pressure would push the toxic, oxygen-deprived air up from the flooded mine and spread it invisibly through Kalachi. The residents weren't being poisoned, they were being suffocated. The symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, headaches, dizziness, confusion, and passing out, were a near-perfect match. The government began evacuating Kalachi and Krasnogorsk. By mid-2015, hundreds of residents had been relocated, and once they left, the sleeping sickness stopped. The story of Kalachi isn't fiction. It's the horrifyingly true story of an environmental crisis, a ghost of the Soviet industrial past rising from the earth to plague a new generation. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't see. But while the people of Kalachi were struggling to stay awake, others in Kazakhstan were looking to the skies and seeing things that would keep anyone up at night. Reports of strange glowing objects were sparking a nationwide debate. Were they seeing satellites or something else entirely? Kazakhstan is the 9th largest country in the world, a land of vast, open skies. It's also home to the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the world's oldest and largest space launch facility. People there are used to seeing rockets, but recently the sightings have felt different, stranger. Over the last few years, a wave of sightings has swept the nation. Videos and photos flooded social media from cities like Astana, Almaty, and Shymkent. The footage often shows the same thing: bright, glowing objects, sometimes a single streaking light, other times a cluster of orbs moving in unsettling patterns. They appear suddenly, move silently, and then vanish. Imagine standing on your balcony, looking up at the night sky, only to see a brilliant, fiery object streaking overhead. It doesn't look like a plane or a meteor. For many, the reaction was a mix of awe and fear. Social media erupted. The most popular theory? UFOs, of course. Comment sections filled with declarations that this was finally proof of an alien visit. With no immediate official word, people were left to wonder if these strange lights posed a threat. Not long ago, for example, a particularly dramatic event had thousands of people across Central Asia watching a series of bright, glowing objects fly over several cities. The internet buzzed with phrases like, "It looks like it started." The sheer number of witnesses made it impossible to dismiss. The government of Kazakhstan was quick to respond. The Ministry of Defense and the Aerospace Ministries issued statements to calm public nerves. Their explanation was far more earth-to-bound. They stated that the unidentified flying objects were, in fact, not unidentified at all. Most of these sightings could be chalked up to two things: meteor showers and, more often, space debris burning up as it re-enters the atmosphere. Because of Baikonur and major launch sites in neighboring China, the skies over Kazakhstan are a frequent pathway for the final, fiery descent of spent rocket stages and dead satellites. These pieces of space junk, traveling at incredible speeds, create spectacular light shows as they burn up. Officials were able to match specific sightings to known space events. A bright light that caused a stir was later confirmed to be a defunct satellite. The Ministry of Defense was firm. No violations of the country's airspace had been recorded, and the objects posed no threat. So, are the glowing skies of Kazakhstan fact or fiction? Well, the objects are fact. The videos are real. The fiction comes from the interpretation. The evidence overwhelmingly points to a logical explanation. The skies over Kazakhstan aren't filled with alien visitors, but with the predictable fallout of our own relentless push into space. Our own creations returning to us as fiery, celestial ghosts. We've unraveled a medical mystery that put a whole village to sleep and demystified the strange lights filling the night sky. If you're finding these mysteries as compelling as I do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We have so many more unexplained phenomena from around the world to explore together. Now, let's get back to it, because our final mystery takes us from the modern age to the ancient past, to a place where the lines between human creation, natural wonder, and pure myth get impossibly blurry. Our final stop takes us high into remote mountains and deep into the grassy steppes, to two enigmas thousands of years apart, but connected by a thread of pure mystery. One is a structure so perfect it seems impossible, and the other is a series of drawings so vast they can only be seen from space. High in the Jungarian Alata Mountains, near the rugged border between Kazakhstan and China, explorers recently found something that seems to defy all geological explanation. Captured in stunning drone footage that quickly went viral, it appears to be a massive doorway carved into a cliff face. The formation is immense, roughly 40 feet tall and 40 feet wide. What makes it so jarring is its symmetry. It doesn't look like a random cave or a natural arch. It looks intentional. It looks like a doorway. The footage shows two explorers dwarfed by the sheer scale of the structure. As soon as the images hit the internet, speculation exploded. The visual is so powerful that people immediately drew comparisons to Jabba the Hutt's palace in Star Wars or the doors of Durin from The Lord of the Rings. Naturally, the ancient aliens theory was a popular one. Commenters joked, "That's aliens," while others seriously proposed it could be a hidden portal or the cloaked entrance to an underground base. The structure's precise rectangular shape seems too perfect to be natural, fueling ideas that it must have been carved with some lost technology. The location only adds to the mystique. For millennia, this mountain pass, known as the Jungarian Gate, was a crucial route for armies and traders. The region is steeped in legend, with some ancient Greek myths even linking it to the fabled land of Hyperborea, a paradise where people lived for 1,000 years. What better place to hide a gateway to the stars? But is it fact or fiction? The truth, according to geologists, is likely a spectacular illusion crafted by nature. The doorway is almost certainly a natural formation, the product of something called differential weathering. Over millions of years, softer rock erodes away faster than the harder rock around it. This process, combined with natural cracks in the cliff, can carve out incredibly geometric shapes. Nature, it turns out, is a master sculptor. And while it looks like a deep passage, some analysts believe it may be a relatively shallow feature. So, the giant stone doorway is likely a fact of geology, not a fiction of alien architects. It's a stunning example of pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns, like a door, in random shapes. And yet, its perfect symmetry and imposing presence leave just enough room for doubt to keep the wonder alive. While the doorway might be a trick of the eye, our final mystery is undeniably real, and in many ways, even more profound. In 2007, an archaeology enthusiast named Dmitry Day was scanning Google Earth when he discovered something extraordinary in the Turgai region of northern Kazakhstan. Etched into the steppe were massive geometric patterns, some bigger than several football fields. These are the Turgai Geoglyphs. There are at least 260 of these incredible earthworks, with shapes including giant squares, rings, crosses, and even a three-armed swastika, an ancient symbol used for millennia. The Ushtagai square is a massive figure made of 101 mounds. These are not small carvings, they are colossal structures, built by arranging mounds of earth and stone so large they are impossible to fully appreciate from the ground. They are designs meant to be seen from the sky. Unlike the doorway, there's no question these are man-made. The real question is, by whom and why? Archaeological research suggests that they could be incredibly ancient, perhaps created as far back as 8,000 years ago. That would make them older than the famous Nazca lines in Peru. One theory is that they were solar observatories. Researchers noted that many of the geoglyphs align with the movements of the sun, possibly acting as massive ancient calendars to track the seasons, a vital tool for early societies. Another theory is that they were sacred, ritualistic sites, enormous temples open to the sky where ancient tribes gathered. Their sheer scale implies a massive, coordinated effort from a sophisticated and organized culture. But despite numerous excavations, very few artifacts have been found, deepening the mystery of what exactly happened here. So, the Turgai Geoglyphs are an undeniable archaeological fact. They are real, ancient, and a protected part of Kazakhstan's heritage. The fiction is in any claim to know their true purpose for certain. They are a silent 8,000-year-old message written on the face of the earth in a language we have yet to fully understand. From a village plunged to sleep by the toxic ghosts of its Soviet past to dazzling lights in the sky that turned out to be our own space-age junk, Kazakhstan is a land of incredible stories. It's a place where the line between fact and fiction is constantly being redrawn. We've seen how an environmental crisis can look like a supernatural curse, and how our own technology can be mistaken for an alien invasion. But we've also found a true, enduring enigma in the Turgai Geoglyphs, a genuine prehistoric puzzle that reminds us there are still great mysteries waiting to be solved. Kazakhstan teaches us that the world is filled with wonders, some with rational explanations and others that continue to guard their secrets. Which of these mysteries do you find the most compelling? The solved but no less terrifying ordeal of the Kalachi sleeping sickness, or the idea of an 8,000-year-old message etched onto the earth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next dive into the unknown.